The first rule with discovering desires is really simple, and that is, if anyone else is involved in your desire, then you need to be very careful as to whether it's a desire or not. If anyone else is involved in your desire. So to give you some examples, some people say, oh, I get a lot of joy out of helping others. And so they feel that one of their desires is to help others doing anything that the other person wants. Now, I would put to you that most of the time that is not a desire but an addiction, because other people are involved in the desire, in the satisfaction of the desire. With all of our desires, it's rare to have other people involved in their satisfaction. So, for example, if you truly love somebody, you don't need the other person who you love to be involved in your desire. You only, if you really love them, you would love them whether they're involved in your desire or not. In other words, whether they love you back or not. You would love them. So if you only love a person when they love you back, then it's no longer a desire, right? It's no longer love either. It's an addiction of some kind. When you love truly, you can love a person without having them love you back. And if you love a person like that, it's highly likely they will respond to your love at some point in the future, but you don't have a demand that they respond to your love. So every time we have a demand involved in any of our desires, then it's no longer a desire, but an addiction. So for example, if I picked up the guitar and I demanded that all of you were quiet while I played a song, then that's an addiction, not a desire. Do you understand? If I picked up the guitar and just played the guitar because I enjoyed playing the guitar, and I felt some of you didn't like me playing the guitar, right? I would go to a place where either everyone did like me playing the guitar or nobody was there. And then I would play the guitar. In other words, a desire does not, whenever we have a desire, if we feel the feeling from others that they are not happy with our desire, we would then choose to exercise our desire where we can in a private space rather than in a public space. But we would still exercise our desire. With a true desire, you do not need anyone else to validate it, to make it worth your while. With a true desire. With a desire that's got some addictions mixed in it, you will definitely need other people to validate it or to make it worth your while. So for example, if I played the guitar only when other people were around who wanted me to play the guitar, then obviously it's not a true desire. But if I played the guitar by myself, or when other people are around, it didn't matter, and when other people were around, I could feel that they didn't want me to play, and so I would go and play by myself, then that is still a desire. Because with our desires, we are also very in tune with whether other people around us actually enjoy us doing our desire, the impact, in other words, that we have on other people around us. So, if I enjoyed playing the guitar and nobody around me enjoyed listening to me playing the guitar, then I would instantly stop and I would go somewhere where I could play the guitar by myself. I would still exercise my desire, but not having an impact or an unloving impact on other people. Does that make sense? And I also wouldn't have a demand on the other person. I would not demand that everyone has to listen, and I would not demand that everyone has to also give me a great big clap afterwards and say, isn't that fantastic, even though many of them thought that that's not true. I wouldn't have that. And I also, even if I was very good at it, and very good at maybe singing along with the guitar, I would not do it just for the applause. I would do it because I personally enjoyed it, whether people were there or not. So what I see is the biggest problem that most people face with regard to their desires is they only do things that the people around them enjoy, and then they get a feeling of satisfaction because of the enjoyment that other people are experiencing because of what we do. And I feel that that's a major impediment to discovering your desires. If you do things because it brings joy to others, then that would indicate that you're addicted at some point to others and the emotions they feel with regard to the desire that you're bringing or that you feel you have for yourself. So does everyone understand that basic point about desires? That if you are doing what you're doing for the sake of other people, then it's highly unlikely that it's a pure desire. If it is a desire, it is definitely also incorporating addictions. So see if you still enjoy doing it when you're by yourself. So let's say some of you might enjoy playing a video game. Right? Many of you might enjoy playing it by yourself. So that would be a desire. But if you had to have another person playing with you, now it's turned into an addiction. Right? Now, I'm not saying that playing a video game by yourself isn't an addiction either, because you could be using it to avoid your other feelings. But as soon as you need the other person in the desire, then you are instantly involved generally in an addiction. And it's amazing how many times most people think they're enjoying something, but you take away the other people out of the their enjoyment, and most people then don't feel like they can enjoy what they were doing before then. So it's a very good sign to see that. So let's ask some questions. Arthur?
Okay, so if you, for example, you use the example of helping people, if you like doing something that involves other people and you need other people to do that thing, such as teach or something like that, how do you know if that's your true desire? How do you figure out if you're just doing it to please them or if it's something that you're really wanting to do?
Yes. Now, a good way of determining whether your teaching is actually an addiction or a desire is to see what happens when everybody in your audience gets upset with you. Now, if everyone in your audience at some point gets upset with you and you still don't feel the same passion for teaching, then it would indicate that you're only teaching to get certain emotions from the people involved. If you're okay telling a group of people the truth, and sometimes if you're doing that, if you're a teacher and you tell people certain truth, every single person in your audience may be upset with you. And if you still feel like doing it, then it must be a desire inside of yourself. And it's independent of the response of the persons who you're teaching. Does that make sense? Now, what most teachers finish up doing is they only teach the things that bring pleasure to other people. And yet that is not really teaching, that is just pandering or feeding their addictions. Now, many people in the world make a lot of money out of pandering or feeding other people's addictions, because most people love their addictions being fed. And so when people love their addictions being fed, they will give you money, and if you charge more, they'll give you more money and so forth, because they just love the feeling of their addiction being met. And this is where you have to be very careful when you're a teacher of any kind, whether you're a teacher of small children right the way through to a teacher of adults. And by the way, even if you're a teacher in the spirit world, you'd have to also be careful that you're not just meeting the addictions of your students and making them feel good, and therefore not confronting the truth at any point in time. And therefore, you're actually meeting one of your own addictions if you were doing that as well. The addiction that you need to be liked, and everybody needs to approve of you, and everyone needs to accept what you're saying. A true teacher doesn't have that focus. A true teacher focuses on the material that they have to teach. They have a passion for the material they wish to teach. They have a passion to share that material with others, but it's not dependent upon how others respond to that material or their teaching. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, welcome. Come in. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So when you're involved with something that involves other people, like teaching, you need to ask yourself, if you're really looking at whether it's a desire or an addiction, you need to look carefully at your own response to negative feedback from the pupils, if you like.